Hi Scorpio, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your September 2022 tarot reading. Thanks to those of you who like, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, the Celtic Cross spread as always, and also pulled the 4 agreements, Wisdom, the Oracle, and Mudra card for you guys. We're actually going to start the reading off by rolling those astrology dice we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, so we actually have 2. So second house energy for you guys is Sagittarius, and second house, generally speaking, relates to possession, self-worth, finances. Nothing really going on there, astrologically speaking, right now. Alright, we have the moon, and at the time of recording this, we haven't had that new moon in Virgo yet, so that's one lunar cycle to look out for. I think that's around the 27th, 28th of August. We're going to have the full moon in Pisces around the 10th of the month, I believe, in September that is, and then we'll have a new moon in Libra toward the end of the month, so definitely keep an eye out for those. And we have Scorpio, so you guys, obviously you could have some focus on yourselves this month, given that came up. Astrologically speaking, you guys have the South Node in your sign, but other than that, not much going on there either. Alright, so moving on to the main spread. In the main situation position, we have the Hierophant, Taurus energy, and challenging that, we have the Sun. So I can see this playing out a couple different ways. One way could just be saying that for some of you, maybe you've been locked into being a little bit too serious lately, and the challenge could be that you guys might need to try to have a little bit of fun for a while. That's one way I can see it playing out. For others of you, it could actually be the opposite, which is to say that you might be called to take a more serious stance on something, and for whatever reason you guys just might be in a more light, playful mood to where you don't want to address this thing that needs to be addressed. But yeah, for those of you, this could actually also represent where maybe you guys are getting some enlightenment on something and possibly realizing that you didn't know as much as you might have thought at a certain point. And that could be part of the North Node transit in Taurus, which is your opposite sign, where other people might bring things to your awareness that you might not have known up to this point. So either way, having the Sun as a challenge is not the worst thing, so I don't think it's going to be too harsh of an energy for you guys. Alright, in the foundation position, we have the 4 of Pentacles. So this is Capricorn energy here, and actually represents your 3rd house communication too. So yeah, you guys might actually be withholding around communication around a certain situation. And we actually have Pluto in those degrees of Capricorn too, so that could even make it more of a control thing when it comes to what you do say versus what you don't, right? So yeah, some of you guys could have been holding back around communication. Some of you guys could just be saying that maybe you've been holding on to certain beliefs as well for a long time that maybe they're being challenged this month with the energies we see that we just spoke about there. Alright, in the past position, we have the Fool. So yeah, for some of you, it actually might be that you guys are the ones who are a bit more conservative than usual, because with the Fool energy in the past, it could just be saying that maybe you have the mentality of been there, done that, right? Where, okay, maybe you took a risk in the past, and maybe it didn't pay off the way you hoped, right? So that, what's that old saying, like once bitten, twice shy, right? So it could be withholding in a certain way now. For others of you, like I mentioned with the energies there, this could just be saying that maybe you've been in this energy for a bit too long, and now you might need to buckle down and get a little bit more serious. So obviously it can vary from person to person. All right, in the position, the present position, we have Strength, Leo energy, 10 of Cups, Pisces energy, and the High Priestess. So for some of you, this could actually point to potentially just keeping your egos in check around a certain thing, because we always see with the artwork there, it looks like she's attempting to close the lion's mouth. And if we think about the lion representing the ego energy, right, we could see some holding back around that. For some of you, that might be in your work environment as well. And maybe realizing that how doing so, right, could just actually lead to an overall happier, smooth environment within the situation, and just finding yourselves in a more observant mode as opposed to, saying what comes to mind immediately, right? So I feel like it's saying that this month that might actually pay off for you. Maybe not forever, right? But maybe just because we're going to be dealing with the Mercury retrograde energy in September, which will actually start in your 12th house and move into Virgo, so which could relate to the groups you're dealing with, friendships, for example. So yeah, if there ever were a month to embrace the energy, this would probably be a good one in that regard, because especially when the Mercury retrograde starts in your 12th house, you could definitely be a little bit more prone to misunderstanding communication. All right, in the near future position, we have the Four of Swords. So, speaking of 12th house energy, this is Libra energy here. And yeah, it could just be that you guys really are pulling back from possibly, like I said, if there was a situation in the past where maybe you did lead with ego, you might have learned from that now, right? So maybe it's like a matter of finding the balance, because maybe you were a little bit too reactive in the past, too quick to come out of ego, and now you might be a little bit holding back a little bit too much, right? So, you go from one extreme to the next, and now you gotta eventually you'll drift back into that balance of knowing that when to do that, when not to, right? So that could be the balance that you guys are looking for now, or will be in the near future, I should say. All right. The position of your influence on the situation, we have the Nine of Cups. So yeah, in a way, you wouldn't necessarily see an immediate connection between the Nine of Cups and the Four of Pentacles, but in a way, there is a similarity that I'm seeing as far as there are two people that are really digging in on a certain thing, right? So, like I said, for this person, it could be withholding around communication, let's say, or resources. And with this person, it's also kind of digging in a way, right? It might be perceived as a more positive way of doing so, but when we look at the Nine of Cups, this is basically an energy. It's usually, in its positive sense, it's usually an energy of contentment, meaning that, okay, you know what you bring to the table, right? These are your past experiences, and you know that they're actually of value to you now. And because you know what you bring to the table, that tends to bring more things your way, right? You're not actively seeking anything more, but it tends to bring more things to you. But of course, in a more negative sense, this can come off with like a bit more of a, like if we look at his facial expression, it's definitely a little bit smug too, right? So it could just be on the opposite end of that, coming from a, oh, I know everything there is to know type of perspective, and not really being open to the perspective of others. So going either end of the extreme there. All right. In the environment position, we have the Wheel of Fortune, the Seven of Wands, Leo energy again there, and Judgment, which I actually do view as a Scorpio energy. So, yeah, I feel like whatever the situation is, it looks like this is coming back up again, which not surprising as far as the retrograde energy we spoke about goes, but I feel like this is something that's coming up for review again. And for whatever reason, there could be some resistance on your part to actually look at it. But I feel like this is saying that it's going to keep coming back until you do. So, like I said, I really feel like for the majority of you, what I'm getting is that it's a balance to where either you were coming from ego too much in the past, and now you're like almost hesitant to really speak your mind at all, or it could be the other way around, right? But trying to find that balance is going to be the key. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing with those energies there. Now, this can represent someone in your environment as well, but it really came across that it's more of a personal journey for you guys this month more than anything. All right. In the hopes or fears position, we have the Five of Swords, Aquarius, Nine of Swords, Gemini energy, and Hangman. Usually view this as Pisces. So, yeah, I feel like there's whatever this is that you might need to revisit. I feel like maybe it was something where you might have come out of ego in a situation, and maybe at the time, of course, because when you're coming out of ego, you often don't think everything through. You may not have realized it at the time. So maybe now with some growth, right, you do realize that, but you might have a fear around rectifying the situation, right, because you might feel like it'll bring more conflict. So instead, you're just kind of sitting back and not really addressing it. That's kind of what I'm getting with that. Or at least wherever that would be your motivation for why you might not want to address this thing again from the past. All right. And in the outcome position, we have the Moon in reverse. So the good thing here is whether or not you do actually physically address the situation, at the very least, this Moon in the reverse shows me that you will, at least deep down, integrate the lesson. Like, you'll know exactly what's what, right? Like, I don't think there's going to be any mystery there. meaning that if you were wrong in a situation, you'll know, like, oh yeah, I was absolutely wrong, even if you don't come out and say it to anyone. I feel like there would at least be that acknowledgement on your end, and realizing that. So, and of course, because with the moon in the upright, it can point to a little bit of confusion where you have to feel through the situation a little bit more because you just can't see what's around you as much, right? With the darkness. So that's what I see with that. And of course, given that we did see the moon come out in your dice as well, could be one of those upcoming lunar cycles that we talked about that might actually help you get this clarity around the situation for sure. So maybe even that new moon that we're going to have at the end of September, like I said, toward the end of September, we'll have the new moon in Libra, which is your 12th house. So it might actually help shed some light on a situation that maybe you weren't seeing clearly for a while. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Page of Swords. So yeah, I do feel like for a lot of you will eventually come forward and communicate around whatever the situation is, whether it's in a workplace, friendships, romantic relationships, you name it. I feel like you will actually address it at some point. Beneath that, we see the Page of Cups too. So yeah, you might not necessarily feel fully comfortable coming forward and addressing it, but I feel like you eventually will, though. All right, moving on to your 4 Agreements card, we have Always Do Your Best, and it says Express Your Own Divinity. Okay, it says you don't need the acceptance of others. You don't need knowledge or great philosophical concepts. You have the right to be you, and you express your own divinity by being alive and by loving yourself and others. So yeah, interesting message there, because when it said you don't need knowledge or great philosophical concepts, that almost makes me think of the Hierophant energy, right? And interestingly enough, I was saying in one of the scenarios, I think I mentioned that for some of you, you might feel like you don't know as much as you thought, right? So that could be saying that maybe that's the challenge there, where you could strike out on your own in a certain way and trust that maybe the path that you're on is correct, right? Even if the traditional path doesn't necessarily agree with that as much. All right, so moving on to your Wisdom Oracle card, we have Soulmates. There's the artwork, and the number is 41. So we'll see what that has to say. Okay, essential meanings says harmonious partnerships, love, friendship, companionship, a relationship fostering personal growth. The Oracle's message: you are meant to evolve and transform with the companionship of others. Certain people enter into your life in order to take you to the next level of healing, consciousness, and authenticity. It is always a reciprocal experience, although the results for each of you will vary. You know these people by the strong pull drawing you toward them, and sometimes by a strong aversion to them initially too. Soulmates can be friends for life or remain in your life for only a short time. No matter what, you will be changed in ways you can't possibly fathom now. Pay attention to these people today. They are your greatest gifts. So yeah, definitely a pretty positive message there, and that could be what this is, right? Where, like I was talking about, where maybe you realized in the past, maybe you came out of ego, and maybe there's a little bit of embarrassment around that or shame, right? But it could just be saying that that was all a part of the plan for your growth anyway, right? And I'm sure that it's saying that they too got something out of the situation as well. All right, the relationship message says consider love in the deepest sense. Love so powerful that you will never be the same, regardless of how long your relationship lasts. Consider friendships and romantic bonds so compelling that they overwhelm you with gratitude or break you open so you will finally claim who you were meant to be. Even a companion animal reminds you that it is you who is being rescued and healed. Pay attention, for you are in the presence of a soulmate, come to guide you home to the real you. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, I didn't necessarily feel like this is a one-to-one relationship. Like I said, it feels like more of a personal journey, but as far as romantic relationships go, obviously that could bring out a lot in you as well, so hopefully that resonated. And the prosperity message says strategic alliances are most important right now as you begin to attract the people to support your dreams. This is a journey you will share with others: mentors, business partners, helpers, employees, creative partners, friends, and strangers open doors for you and step through the portal to join you in a harmonic dance of collaboration, commitment, and co-creation. This is what you've been waiting for. So yeah, definitely a pretty positive message there, especially seeing that Wheel of Fortune card in the environment, so that seems to connect with that fairly well too. All right, and lastly, we have a mudra for you guys. So this is your mudra here. It's the Ashvaratna mudra, and the keyword for it is perspective. Okay, and there's the info on it if you want to pause it or take a screenshot to read what it has to say. But under benefits, it says balances earth, water, and fire elements, benefiting digestion, circulation, and overall vitality. Cuts through ego clinging and narrow-mindedness, gives new perspective on your life and on your choices and life's path. So if that sounds like a mudra you think would be beneficial for you guys, we'll put the name in the description of the video as always. We'll wrap up there, and I'll see you guys next month. All right, bye.